You're probably familiar with the Doomsday Mom, the story of Lori Vallow. Lori Vallow has 3 children total. However, 2 of her youngest children, their names were Tylee and JJ, went missing. And the reason that the story made international news is because Lori Vallow, who had been married 4 times and then had the 3 children, basically fell in love with this guy named Chad Daybell, who was a doomsday prepper. That's how he started. And then became very deranged and very into creating his own way, his own religion, his own way, his own cult, if you will, and believed and then had Lori Vallow believe that they were destined to be together. So Chad Daybell's wife was killed. Lori Vallow's brother was killed because these are people who stood in their way. And then...
Some say true love.
Some say.
Whatever it takes.
Some would say insanity.
Toxic relationship?
Toxic, yes.
Right.
Lori Vallow's 2 youngest children, JJ and... JJ and Tylee were missing for a long time.
It's horrible.
Now we know that they were killed. They were killed and their bodies were hidden. And Lori Vallow
Would they say they were kidnapped or something?
Yeah, no. They didn't even say that. They just would tell family members who had not seen the children in a very long time, they're fine. They're good. We sent them to camp. They went here. They went there. They're
just
fine.
busy. They're just busy.
And everybody around them were like, they cannot be fine.
Why
did
they kill them?
Because they were insane. And they were
and evil.
And brainwashed. And the crazy part is that Chad Daybell told, and then Lori Vallow also believed in her insanity, that her children were works of the devil and that they were evil and that they were killing them to make their spirits good for God.
That's so terrible.
Yeah. Gee. And so Chad Daybell was just very recently sentenced to death. Lori Vallow was sentenced to life in prison. And we want to know why the different sentences.
It's always easier to be a woman in this world.
I don't know. I don't understand it.
It's a sickening story. It really is. So we have our official attorney, Lisa Lanier. Maybe she can help us out on this. Good morning, Lisa.
Hey, good morning. I've been following this story for years, and there's this fantastic reporter from Idaho named Nate Eaton, who I met last year at CrimeCon because I love some true crime.
Yeah.
And he was the guy who followed them to Hawaii when they ran away to Hawaii to get married. And he was the one that nobody knew exactly where they were, and he found them. The cops didn't even know exactly where they were. They were on the run, and he found them, and he was chasing them, and he was screaming, "Lori, where are your children?" You know, it was just like such a cool moment. But so the reason for the discrepancy in sentencing is this. So it's actually more common that women are sentenced much more harshly than men, particularly for domestic violence related or domestic killings. And this was domestic violence as you typically think of it, but familial killings. Usually women get hugely more harsh sentences. But here, it's a screw-up by the prosecution that took the death penalty off the table. So what happened was, in any kind of case, whether it's civil or criminal, you have a discovery process. And that is where each side has to share their information with the other side. So it's a level playing field. You know, so in a criminal case, it's really important because in order to have a fair trial, the defendant has to be allowed to know what the evidence is against them and to be able to refute it, right? And, you know, if it's and investigate it. So what happened was the prosecutors had mountains. I mean, they say it's just boxes and boxes and stacks of evidence that they did not divulge on time, or in some cases they did it on the very last day of the discovery period, right before the trial, and there was no time to go through it. So they literally withheld all of this evidence. They dumped some of it on the defense at the last minute, and some of it they didn't give them on time at all. And so what the judge said was, look, if I don't do this, if I don't take the death penalty off the table, then this is never going to stand. And she will have, you know, and the judge said it's only fair because I can't, you know, where somebody didn't have an adequate opportunity to analyze the evidence and present a defense, how can I allow them to be put to death? You know, I mean, the judge it wasn't fair. And so the judge took it off the table totally on the prosecution. She absolutely qualified and probably would have gotten it just like he did.
And I don't know, and are they incarcerated in Arizona or Idaho? I saw 2 different things.
Idaho, but she has more charges pending in Arizona because Arizona was where all the crimes went down with regard to there. She's charged with conspiracy to commit murder in the death of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, who was shot by her brother.
That's right.
And and then also her niece's husband, somebody shot at him and missed, and she's charged in that as well. Another conspiracy, both in Arizona.
Can she get the death penalty for those cases in Arizona?
Those are not death penalty level cases, I don't believe, in Arizona, because she didn't do either of those things. She conspired.
Oh, I see.
So I don't think in Arizona she's eligible. But in Idaho, the interesting thing is, Idaho is like, of the 27 states that have the death penalty, it is the least likely to actually execute someone. Like if you do some comparison like they did in one of the articles that you and I shared, they've only executed 3 people since 1976 when the death penalty came back, versus like Texas that has executed 580 during that time period.
Yeah.
So 3 in Idaho. And then recently they tried to execute somebody, and this has been a common thing that's been happening lately with the death penalty. They tried and they couldn't. Like they couldn't get a good vein.
Oh my God!
Yeah, we've been hearing that.
I can let them borrow a gun.
Yeah, so that's happened a bunch of times recently, and so now Idaho is thinking about bringing back the firing squad. But if they do it,
I was joking.
No way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the thing, I don't know how we get all bent out of shape about certain things with animals, and rightfully so, but sometimes, but while we're eating chicken or steak, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if you're going to put them to death, isn't
I'm not
I'm not for a firing squad.
I'm also not for the death penalty. I am for putting people to the most excruciating, backbreaking, hardest labor
I'm with you on that.
Until they die on their own.
I'm with, if they can do that, if they would do that, like a true punishment for the whole life, instead of like watching TV and having porn and stuff. Yeah,
and 3 meals a day and a place to sleep, and
that is a good idea.
And air conditioning.
Put them in the hardest of labor until they die of natural causes.
I think but that's still not justice for the person.
No, it will never be justice for the person ever. But
it's a real punishment, though.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
because it seems like
I mean, in my opinion, maybe I know people probably don't agree with me, but that's
I think that's. But I think you have a point, because death penalty seems like, I don't know. I go back and forth. It's like we're just killing, which is not a good presentation, but I know some people deserve it. Yeah. And at the same time, when you go to jail, you're right. They can just do the 3 meals a day. Why not put them through hard labor of misery for the rest of their life?
So that they're thinking about the crime every second of the day.
And that's unfortunately the problem with like the misery. Is it gets out of hand, and then you run afoul of the Constitution with cruel and unusual punishment. But I think even just sitting in prison for life, if you never have a possibility, parole must be pretty miserable, even if it's or kind of an average prison. But I don't know. There's some crimes that are so heinous. I think the death penalty is the only thing that makes sense. I mean, I think that's terrible.
Oh yeah.
I mean, some of them, but like these people, where do you draw the line about these people were clearly mentally ill? I mean, they clearly did, and so how, did they know right from wrong? They thought their children were zombies. Lori Vallow still to this day thinks that they did the right thing and that they freed her children's souls to go, to heaven and not be zombies any longer. That is what she still to this day believes.
But it's interesting. She didn't believe that until she met this guy. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Obviously, there's so complicated, not black and white type of thing. You know what I really miss?
What?
The electric chair. That's a
chair,
real deal.
Now that was cruel and unusual because a lot of times it took a lot longer than you could think for it to work. And so
for someone that was truly guilty, what a way to go.
And if injections haven't been working, you just go through. It has to be a super painful experience, and then you don't die.
How can you
That'd
not
be miserable.
get the injection to work? That makes no sense.
I think by the time a lot of the appeals process can take like decades, and by the time these guys come to the point of actually being executed, they're older, and the older we get, our veins become more friable, and they tend to collapse and stuff. And a lot of people don't have good veins in their older years. And I think it takes a pretty decent vein. I think they hook up a couple of IVs, and they just can't. There have been several states that have had that problem of like, dude, we can't kill this guy. And then what happens is, like, they usually do the execution right at the end, like there's a time, like by midnight on this date. And so they are in there for hours trying to get a vein, and then the clock goes past midnight, and bam, their warrant for death is no good any longer.
Oh, wow.
Stupid rules.
That's what happened with the guy in Idaho. They just ran out of time trying. They were still trying to poke the guy. And it was like,
my! Can you imagine?
No.
Runs out
And
of
then
time.
what happens
So
then?
dumb.
I mean, are you just at that point? You're just free, like you just.
Well, it has to go back then, and then that's actually what they're still not sure in Idaho what they're going to do with this last guy. If they're just going to, the prosecution, can go back and ask for another death warrant, or because you don't like come off of death row automatically just because they couldn't do it, but they're actually contemplating asking it to be converted to a life sentence. I think because they're like, look, either that or have the state bring back the firing squad, which it does seem kind of barbaric. I don't know. It just seems like we're going in the wrong direction.
It does.
Could we do something less barbaric if they're like elderly and they're murderers and terrible people? Like have like a professional pillow smotherer?
Oh,
Like if they can't get a vein, you can't get a vein.
Gosh.
It's soft.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Quiet.
too.
What about like putting them on an island by themselves, and then they just have to survive? But then we release a whole bunch of wild animals.
Now we're talking.
Is that
Katie.
an
Now we're talking. Katie.
Maybe.
Yes.
I don't know, because like I don't want their blood on my. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
Not
gives
on
them
my
a
hands.
chance. It's just nature being nature.
Yeah, and if
Right.
you can't survive, I mean, sucks. You're
Why
weak.
don't we just put them in the Hunger Games and show it to other criminals? Like make the criminals watch it.
What if?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
They'd be scared straight for sure.
Or do like
Oh, my God.
like a shark cage, but have a big opening.
There you go.
Oh, we didn't do it.
We
The
didn't
shark
do
did
it. Yeah.
Shark
Swimming
did it.
with, you'll be swimming with sharks. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like it.
Man, we got some good ideas here. She's great. Official attorney of Jared and Katie. I'm sorry, we're
I
morbid.
feel like we're all going to hell.
little
I don't
bit.
know. I feel very, very weird about this.
A little bit. Lisa, we really appreciate you. Official attorney Lisa Lanier. Ever injured on the job, contact her right away at hireaheavyweight.com.